I am sure we all have been hearing about how we need to do our parts as United States citizens in this election year. While it may be hard to vote if you do not know what you are voting for, I have chosen to do my speech on Measure 5. I think this is a great topic for me to do my persuasive speech on because it will help me to decide on how I want to vote on Measure 5. When voting on Measure 5 in an election year, you need to research each measure on your own and vote on how it relates to your beliefs. You should not just vote yes or no because your family and friends do. As an adult, you need to make your own decisions and see what ways better fits in your life and your beliefs. Measure 5 is North Dakota's Clean Water and Wildlife and Parks Amendment. It will be hard to vote on this measure if you do not know what it consists of. I have found myself leaning more towards no on 5 because of how it disagrees with the things in my life and the beliefs in my life. According to the North Dakota Clean Water and Wildlife website, the measure states that the measure would have redirected 5% of the state's oil extraction tax revenue to a Clean Water, Wildlife, and Parks Trust and Fund. Also, according to one of the Grand Forks websites, North Dakotans for Clean Water, Wildlife, and Parks pitch the constitutional amendment as a way to preserve the state's clean water and land for future generations and balance the impacts of energy development on agriculture production. Many people have said that this measure is ran by groups outside of North Dakota because they are looking to cash in on the oil money in North Dakota. After reading about Measure 5 and what it really consists of and what the plans are for North Dakota, I thought to myself how this will impact my life and the things around me. After reading through the North Dakota Clean Water and Wildlife website, they made it sound like North Dakota farmers and ranchers are taking away land to farm and ranch, and then there will be no land left in the future for wildlife. They also state that the farmers and ranchers just took on land to cash in on the prices of things. I would have to disagree on this. North Dakota farmers and ranchers may have taken on a lot more land than in the past, but this is to help feed the world. For some people who do not know where their groceries come from, the groceries do not just come from the grocery store. A farmer or rancher raises the crops or cattle and then sells the crops or cattle to an elevator or feedlot, which is then shipped out to a plant or a processor, and that plant or processor processes the enterprise into food that feeds the world. If the population keeps growing rapidly throughout the world, we need to find things that will help produce us enough food to feed the world. Also, farmers and ranchers may have taken on land to take advantage of the prices right now, but they did this to help themselves pay their bills. Everyone thinks farming and ranching makes so much money, and all we do is keep it to ourselves. Really, if you don't know how to market your things right, you don't make that much money in farming and ranching. And really, it's not really that profitable. There are so many bills that need to be paid, and like any other businesses, you need to do things that make yourself money so you can pay your bills and live off of. Next, the wildlife is supported by farming and ranching. With the crops or pastures that are out there, the wildlife live off of or stay in there to hide from hunters. We have deer and pheasants around our place, and they are always in our corn and wheat fields. They also even harvest some of the crops before we can even go out to combine. This helps the animals survive, which also creates cover for them to stay safe from hunters. As you can see, farming and ranching really helps wildlife. Also, the way we farm and ranch now helps to keep the water clean for wildlife to drink. After reading and rereading the information on Measure 5 off of the Bismarck Tribune website, this measure seems like with the money they will receive from the oil fields will help them by telling the farmers and ranchers and other people what they can do and cannot do. Also, it sounds like they can take whatever land they want and not use it as a wildlife and clean water land. I think this is totally wrong because I believe that the person who owns the land and has the right to do whatever they want to with their land. After reading and studying the measure, I believe no is the way to vote on this measure. By voting no, this gives the landowners, farmers, and ranchers and hunters their freedom to do what they want with the land. And by voting no, this will help the farmers and ranchers feed the world. This will also help keep North Dakota the way it has been from generation to generation in the future.